Elon Musk thinks EVs are the future, but the Toyota CEO, he's not so sure yet. He says we shouldn't just think about electric cars as the only way to stop hurting the planet. Why? Because people around the world want different things, and places are different too. So Toyota's got a plan. They're not just looking at electric cars. They've got a bunch of ideas to make cars better for the planet. Now here's the big news. Toyota's working on a new kind of engine that uses hydrogen, not gas. And they have already tested it in a Corolla Cross hydrogen concept. Toyota CEO says this new engine is so good, it's going to shake up the whole car world, especially the part that's all about electric cars. He's pretty bold, saying their new engine will destroy the entire EV industry. That means he thinks what they're doing is a big deal and could change everything about how we think about cars and keeping the planet clean. And if this engine production starts commercially, then it's going to destroy the entire EV industry for good. So how special is this engine and how it can destroy the entire EV industry? Let's take a look. But before that, let's first talk about what exactly is this engine that might just give the EV industry a run for its money. This engine is a bit of a twist on what we're used to, and here's why it's making waves. You see, hydrogen engines work a bit differently from what we're used to. They are like a regular car engine, but with a green twist. Instead of using gasoline, this engine runs on hydrogen. Here's how it works. It takes hydrogen gas, mixes it with air, and then, just like in your usual car, a spark sets off a controlled bang. But instead of gasoline fumes, this explosion powers the engine with clean energy. The result? The car moves, but the only thing coming out of the tailpipe is water vapor. Yep, you heard that right, just water. This is huge because it means cars can be powerful and fast without making the planet dirtier. Think about it, a car that only leaves behind a puff of water vapor instead of smog. That's a big deal in places where the air is already thick with pollution. The Toyota CEO is betting big on this technology, not just because it's clean, but also because it's smart. Hydrogen for these engines can be made from a lot of things, even water, which means we could have a never-ending supply. This makes hydrogen a cool choice for the future, where we're trying to cut down on using stuff that can run out, like oil. Now, why are we saying this could shake up the whole EV scene? Well, hydrogen engines have some cool perks. For starters, they're really clean. Since they mostly just make water, they don't add to the air pollution problem, like cars that run on gas. They're also really good at turning fuel into power, which means they can go farther on less fuel, making them better for the environment and possibly cheaper to run in the long run. Plus, hydrogen is something we can make over and over again from stuff like water, so we wouldn't run out like we could with oil. That makes it a really smart choice for the future, where we want to keep our air clean and not use up all the Earth's goodies. Now, Toyota's going all in with liquid hydrogen. It's a bit of a game changer compared to the compressed hydrogen gas you've heard about in fuel cell cars like the Toyota Mirai. First off, liquid hydrogen is like the superhero version of hydrogen because it packs more energy into the same space. Imagine you've got a backpack for a long hike. If compressed hydrogen is like carrying water bottles, then liquid hydrogen is like having a magic water pouch that holds 50% more water without taking up more room. This means cars can go farther on a single tank, which is pretty neat. Another cool thing, liquid hydrogen doesn't need to be squeezed into tanks like compressed gas does. It's happy just chilling at regular pressure, which means the tanks in the car can be simpler and safer, not to mention lighter. This is big news because it means cars can be cleaner without giving up the things we like about current cars, like filling up quickly at a station and getting back on the road. Also, by moving towards hydrogen, we're not as dependent on stuff like lithium and nickel, which are in short supply and used in batteries for electric cars. Toyota's thinking is that by pushing hydrogen combustion, we could get to cleaner cars all over the place a lot faster. And there's a fun twist. This technology isn't just for getting around town. It could make a big splash in racing, where speed and quick pit stops are key. So we're talking about a future where even high-speed sports cars leave nothing but water vapor in their wake. Now Toyota is ramping things up with their hydrogen combustion engine technology. They're not just sticking to one kind of vehicle. They're putting this engine into all sorts of rides, from race cars to vans, and now they've gone and dropped it into one of their newest rides, the Corolla Cross. The Corolla Cross isn't new to the scene. It first showed up in 2020, bringing the famous Corolla name into the bigger car league. You've seen it around as a gas guzzler and a hybrid, but with everyone leaning towards SUVs these days, Toyota's decided to shake things up by popping a hydrogen engine in there. They're betting big that this move will put them at the forefront of eco-friendly SUVs. Now, the engine we're talking about isn't just any engine. It's a 1.6-liter turbo, but don't let its size fool you. This little powerhouse has the same guts as the GR Corolla race car. Yeah, it's been through the ringer on racetracks and rough terrain, proving it's tough enough for whatever you throw at it. Whether you're zipping around downtown or hitting the farmer's market, this engine's got you covered with both excitement and efficiency. And if you're thinking, sure, but what if I want something with a bit more oomph? Toyota's already on it. They're teaming up with Yamaha to create a beefier hydrogen combustion engine. Picture this, a 5.0-liter V8 beast with 444 horsepower. They're aiming to bring the thrill of petrol engines to the hydrogen world, right down to the roar of the engine. This move isn't just about making one type of green car. Toyota's got a whole eco-friendly vision. They're leading the pack with hybrids and pushing the envelope with electric cars too. For instance, they're working on an electric vehicle, EV, with a solid-state battery that could go up to 745 miles on a single charge. So, while hydrogen is their ace, they're not ditching electric and hybrid technology. Toyota's playing a smart game, mixing up their approach to ensure they're ready for whatever the future of driving holds. Now, why is this engine coming into the market? Well, Toyota still need to solve some issue in it. First up, keeping hydrogen cold enough is a real head-scratcher. We're talking colder than a winter's night in Siberia, below minus 253 degrees Celsius cold. If it gets any warmer, poof, your liquid hydrogen starts turning into gas, which is not what you want. During a race that lasted a day, the guys at Toyota had to switch out the fuel pump not once, but twice, because it just couldn't keep up. Each swap took a whopping 3.5 hours. Why the trouble? Well, traditional oil lubricants are a no-go with hydrogen. They'd mess up the fuel. Plus, getting all the parts in the pump to play nice at such frosty temperatures is like trying to thread a needle while wearing boxing gloves. Then there's the tank size. Even though liquid hydrogen is packed with energy, you still need a big tank to get a decent driving range. Take the prototype Corolla, for example. It had a 150-liter tank, but needed a pit stop every 65 kilometers. Picture a Formula One car trying to pull off the same stunts. It'd need a tank as big as a small swimming pool, 700 liters, just to make the distance without refueling. And if you thought leaving your car parked for a couple of weeks was a non-issue, think again. BMW dipped its toes in the hydrogen pool a while back with the Hydrogen 7 car. They noticed that even when the car was just sitting there, not doing much, the hydrogen would start to vanish into thin air, well, vapor, within 10 to 12 days. Not exactly convenient for your average Joe or Jane. To put the icing on this frosty cake, there's the efficiency problem. Sure, hydrogen combustion engines are a step up from guzzling petrol in terms of emissions, but when you crunch the numbers, using that hydrogen to generate electricity for battery EVs makes more sense. Efficiency-wise, hydrogen engines hover around the same ballpark as petrol engines, which is to say, not great, about 20–40% efficient. Battery electric vehicles, on the other hand, knock it out of the park with around 77% efficiency. Toyota's not blind to these icebergs. They're innovating, experimenting, and racing to find solutions because they know the potential of hydrogen as a clean fuel is too big to ignore. They're betting on a mix of technologies, electric, hybrid, and yes, hydrogen, to get us there. With their track record, who's to say they won't crack the code and lead the way into a greener, cleaner future for all of us? It's a bold journey, and one thing's for sure, it's going to be fascinating to watch.